Barry Gibb has spent decades in the spotlight, captivating the world with a voice so distinct it became the soundtrack of a generation. From the soft emotion of To Love Somebody to the electrifying pulse of Stayin' Alive, his music defined eras. But behind the fame, the falsetto, and the flashing disco lights lies a story far deeper than chart-topping hits. A story of survival, heartbreak, loyalty, and one woman who became his anchor through it all. Barry Allen Crompton Gibb was born on September 1, 1946, on the Isle of Man, a quiet island far removed from the global stages he would one day command. Music wasn't just a hobby in the Gibb household, it was the heartbeat of the family. His father, Hugh, was a drummer and bandleader, and young Barry grew up surrounded by rhythm and harmony. But his early years were not without pain. At just 2 years old, he suffered severe burns in a household accident that left him hospitalized for months. It was a traumatic beginning, one that quietly shaped his resilience. By the time the family moved to Manchester, Barry and his younger twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, were inseparable, bound not only by blood, but by harmony. Skiffle, rock and roll, Elvis, Buddy Holly, the sounds of the 1950s fueled their dreams. What began as a small neighborhood group would eventually become the Bee Gees. After emigrating to Australia and grinding through small gigs and radio spots, they clawed their way toward success. Then came the explosion: global fame, screaming fans, and a catalog of songs that would sell over 200 million records worldwide. But fame has a price. Behind the glitter of the disco era were private battles. Barry endured a short-lived early marriage while his career was just taking off. The pressures of success mounted. And then came the devastating losses. First his youngest brother Andy in 1988, then Maurice in 2003, and Robin in 2012. One by one, the voices that once blended so perfectly with his were gone. Barry became the last surviving BG, a title that carried both honor and unimaginable grief. Through every high and every crushing low, one person remained constant: his wife, Linda. They met in 1967, when Barry spotted her in the audience during a television performance. Instead of a grand gesture, he simply invited her for tea. That simple beginning turned into a marriage that has lasted more than 5 decades. In an industry where relationships often collapse under pressure, theirs endured. Barry has openly credited Linda with keeping him grounded, shielding him from the destructive temptations that claimed so many around him. While others spiraled into addiction, Barry stayed focused on family. Together, they raised 5 children, building a private world away from the chaos of stardom. In later interviews, Barry has spoken candidly about childhood trauma, survivor's guilt, and the emotional weight of losing his brothers. Yet through it all, he returns to the same truth: without Linda, he might not have survived the storm of fame and loss. Today, when Barry steps on stage, he carries more than melodies, he carries memories. The harmonies of his brothers, the lessons of hardship, the quiet strength of the woman who stood beside him. Because behind every legend, there is often an untold love story. And for Barry Gibb, that love story may be his greatest legacy of all.